morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is REGANELITE with another episode of the Snowflakes Viewpoint. Wow, how many episodes are we in? God, I keep losing count. 22 apparently. 22 episodes, guys. It's quite incredible. We've come. Wow. As of this recording this live stream, guys, we are on 318 subscribers. Absolutely crazy, guys. It really is. Hope first and foremost you guys had a great weekend. Hope you're all doing well and healthy as well. So we've got quite a lot to cover tonight. We need to cover one of the most important stories that's happened today, that luckily is not of great disaster. I'm just going to cover this and bring this up before I talk to you guys in the chat, because I think this one is really, really important that we all know this. If you haven't been made aware, we all were dreading the worst, but it's going to be alright, guys. Sir Larry the Cat is happy and healthy after reports of ill health over the weekend. The well-being of Downing Street's chief mouser caught concern online. So yes, there was worries about Sir Larry the Cat, guys. We were worried about his well-being, but luckily we can confirm that Larry the Cat is alright. It was alleged that he was in ill health over the weekend, but Number 10 has now claimed otherwise, leaving fans delighted. The Sun reported on Saturday that Downing Street was starting to fear for Larry, as he had been in poor health for some time. Government officials were even reportedly working out how to break the news if the stray tabby were to die, and decided that they would reveal the tragedy on social media. However, Downing Street spokesman has since told IVT News, "I would say he's happy and healthy." The unofficial, formerly Twitter account of the pet also chimed in on Sunday, sharing a BBC News clip where he stars in the background, adding the caption, "I thought I'd best make an appearance on BBC News to rest assure you that I am alive and kicking." So I can confirm that he's alive and kicking. The 16-year-old, meaning that he's around 84 in cat years, feline was adopted from Battersea by Number 10 back in 2011 and was meant to be a companion for David Cameron's children. However, it turned out Larry's more attached to this place than people, so he just never moved out of Downing Street. He having been there for 12 years, he is Number 10's longest ever occupant. He has seen 4 prime ministers come and go in the UK's most powerful address, and now lives with Rishi Sunak and with his red fox Labrador retriever Nova. According to Sunak's wife, Larry has had a few heated exchanges with the dog, but still manages to come out on top. The Downing Street website even has a section about him in which relieves Larry spends his days greeting guests at the house, inspecting security defences and testing adequate furniture for napping quality. His day-to-day responsibilities include contemporary solution to the mouse occupation of the house. So after a health scare, here are some nice tweets to celebrate Larry's 9 lives. Rest assured, folks, now the 10 cat is fine. He even eyed up the Coca-Cola and Tesco shop. Sorry for badly cropped first pictures taken on the first phone. Had little time before he wandered off. 4 pictures showing a patch that he was cute due to the old age, not serious. As I already said, Larry the Cat is the only redeeming quality of this government, I swear to God. Oh, look at Larry the Cat, it's so cute. Larry the Cat's probably been more of a consistent friend to the press than the entire political staff at Number 10. Has it really? Oh, what's happened? Oh, it's gone to Twitter. Oh, no, we don't want to open up Twitter. No, we don't need to open it up. Can you not just open it here? No, it won't let me open it up here. Oh, that's a shame. Someone in caps locks. I've just seen Larry the Cat on live TV. He's okay, pals. Laura Patriot said, "I'm not kidding. Larry the Cat is my Captain Tom, my Queen Elizabeth. If something happens to him, I will lose my goddamn mind. Oh dear." Drone light show of Larry the Cat on New Year's Eve. Don't know if I'm emotionally stable enough to handle the death of Larry the Cat. Hashtag pray for Larry. Oh no. Very relieved to hear of this. However, I have taken the liberty of composing a Latin epitaph for when I hope long years hence he departs from the great per aftermath. Larry the Cat is happy and healthy after reports he was seriously unwell. If Larry the Cat dies, do we get a bank holiday? That's a very important question, guys. Do we get a bank holiday? That is a very important question. So yes, guys, Larry the Cat is all right. So just wanted to kind of just give you all that reassurance, because I know how important we all love So Larry the Cat. Hopefully Larry the Cat will make an appearance here in the chat today. So who do we have in the chat today? Because I did not say hello to anyone. Good evening, Joe. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're well. 91 Leeds. Good to see you there, buddy. Hope you had a good weekend too. Mad Monk. Good to see you there. Ben Shaw's. Good to see you as well. Anybody else? Simon says 55 is also here. Good to see you. FY is here as well. Good evening, buddy. Yeah, good to see you. Everyone saying hello to each other. It's great to see you guys. I really appreciate you taking your time to come and see me. Just in case anybody was wondering as well, just out of curiosity, I did go to the Rejoin EU March. However, I did not participate in it just for... I didn't participate in it, but I did go and check it out just to have a look. But I didn't really participate in it. I could have tried to find like the likes of Graham, Femi, and trying to just meet them and that. But guys, I'm a bit too shy, if I'm honest, guys. So, but I did go there and have a check it out. I didn't participate, guys, but perhaps maybe next year in March, maybe with a bit more confidence, maybe I'll attend it. I was a bit shy, if I'm honest, guys. I'm a bit shy. Daily Blase, good to see you, buddy. Just catching up on some of your videos today. Hope you're doing well, buddy. You're doing really well on the subscriber count, mate. Keep it going, buddy. Keep it going. Right, so I've got quite a lot to cover, guys. So let's crack right into it. So this is the first one. Yes, this is exclusive for my news, guys. We never shoot to kill. We shoot to stop, says Met firearms officers doesn't hand in weapons. I have not read a lot on this, guys, so bear with me while I read this to get my thoughts together on this. So a Metropolitan Police firearms officer described how awful morale and the extreme pressure of the role is driving him and his colleagues to reconsider their jobs carrying lethal weapons on London streets. The public is left safe as a result of the crisis that was caused hundreds of Metropolitan Police firearms officers to step back from their duty as a member of the frontline armed unit had told the Eye. The long-serving Scotland Yard officer, who's considered his own future as one of the Met's 2,500 highly trained armed specialists, said morale among his colleagues was awful and dozens more are pondering whether to relinquish the master's responsibility of carrying a lethal weapon. Extra armed forces from neighbouring forces were drafted in over the weekend after as many as 300 of the Met's own specialists stepped back. Scotland Yard said today that the army had been stood down from providing potential support at the event of a terrorist attack after an unspecified number of staff had returned to their duties. Just on that basis, guys, like, this might shock them, but it's your job to carry those weapons. Like, if you're not comfortable carrying those weapons, don't do the job. If you can't handle it, don't do the job. It's as simple as that, is what I'm going to say. Like, morale amongst his colleagues was awful and doesn't ponder whether to relinquish the massive responsibility. Like, I'm sorry, but you know that's what comes with the job. You know, if you can't do it, then just... How many were there at the rally? I didn't count. But someone claimed that there was someone on Twitter claimed that there was less than 10 people. So there were reports of up to 40,000 people were in the march. Apparently, I don't know how true that was, but yeah, there was a massive crowd at the Hilton. I remember looking at the crowd. I wish I wish I got a chance to meet Graham and everybody there, but I was a bit too shy, guys. That's just me. Maybe in March, maybe I'll go to the one in March, and maybe I'll have a bit more courage to do it, guys. But yeah, there was a great crowd from seeing it all on. I did watch it later on Twitter, so. But the serving officer said many colleagues remain uneasy and further significant numbers of registrations from armed duties cannot be ruled out. The upheaval follows the decision last week by the Crown Prosecution Service to charge a Yard's firearm officer known only as NX121 with murder following the death last September of Chris Caber, 24, who died after the car he was driving was stopped by police in Streatham, South London. The frontline officer told the Eye that he and his colleagues were deeply troubled by the murder charge and concerned that it amongst to knee-jerk reaction with profound implications for the armed officer deployed in London streets every day. he said it's a personal choice whether or not to carry a firearm, as the responsibility is understandably massive. When a murder charge is handed down, you do wonder if it's worth the role or if you're going to be fully supported by the unit who briefed you. After wondering what comes to thinking, and a lot of teams are thinking right now, a lot of people are considering whether they want to step back right now. The officer, who served in the Met for more than a decade, spent the majority of that time as a firearm authorised specialist within the Yard's Specialist Crime Decorative, has said the sudden reduction in the number of officers available for duty in recent days and the need to backfill with colleagues from other forces would have a knock-on effect on public safety. He said the public are less safe because services are stretched enough as it is. Morale is awful and you don't need to lose that many carrying officers from rosters for that to have an impact on cover. People need to understand that arming police is not like something out of the movies where weapons are fired willy-nilly. You have to be able to justify every single shot and recalculate and reconsider every subsequent shot, often within a fraction of a second. The London Mayor Sadiq Khan, who has responsibility for policing the capital, said yesterday he was satisfied that there are enough firearm officers available to commanders to ensure that the city was safe. In the meantime, Yard's leaders, including the Met Commissioner Sir Mark Rowley, have struck a conciliatory tone with their frontline armed colleagues, saying the officers stepping back were expressing genuine held concerns. In an open letter to the Home Secretary this weekend setting out his aspirations for a review of armed police, Sir Mark said there are concerns on the part of the firearm officers that even if they stick to the tactics and training they have been given, they will face years of protracting legal proceedings with impact on their personal well-being and that of their family. The firing of a weapon by a police officer remains rare, according to official figures. Of the 18,398 police firearm operations in England and Wales in the last 12 months to last April the 10th, 10 resulted in a gun being fired at an individual by an officer. The serving officer emphasised the extreme pressure that armed police operate under. The undertaking of armed duties is entirely voluntary with Britain's policing system, meaning a blue tick known as a permit to carry a weapon is known can be surrounded at any time. Despite the rigorous training required and personal risk, the firearms officer said he and his colleagues are not paid significantly more than those performing other roles and receive only a modest additional allowance for their duty. The officer said, "We never ever shoot to kill, we shoot to stop. An offender can cover 10 metres and draw a knife and stab you before your weapon is even clear of the holster." You should not be making that assumption. That's a terrible assumption to make. How often does that happen in this in never mind just here in England, in the UK? It's very rare. On a police officer as well, we're talking about as well. When for the last time, does anyone remember the last time a police officer was stabbed? Someone let me know, because I don't. So when faced with a scenario of where discharging of police firearms becomes necessary, the officer is weighing up the position. Backdrop in case someone else is hit, legislation, what they are seeing, what they are briefed on, what the suspect is doing, and many other things. The decision to fire, the end, the threat can be in fractions of a second. It can happen quickly and very stressful. Well, that's it's also a psychological thing. You've got to keep your composure in those situations. The officer said that the room for improvement within the checks of systems and balances which often govern the information available to the officers before they put in a situation where they openly fire is a possibility. He said the system of tiered decisions making during the live operation known as gold, silver and bronze commanders was outdated and suggested instead that firearms unit could be protected by an experienced checkpoint officer whose job was to ask the difficult questions. They should be asked difficult questions to check that they're all right up here. The officer added, "It's an individual officer's perception that matters. If they see a threat and choose to take a justifiable action, then so be it. If that action later proves to be unjust, then so be it. But remember that the officer is likely making a decision under extreme pressure and in seconds, that others will pick apart over months, if not years." A Met spokesperson said a number of officers have taken the decision to step back from armed duties while they consider their position, but in the past 24 hours some have returned. "We're in ongoing discussion with those officers to support them and fully understand the genuine health concern they may have. The Met has a significant firearms capabilities and we continue to have armed officers deployed in communities across London as well as other sites." So, I have not read the full story with regards to the case of the shooting of the police officer's innocent shooting, or he claims to be an innocent shooting, or the story on it, but like I don't see why in a situation in a country where yes, there are people in the United Kingdom that have firearms or having them illegally or could be a threat, yeah, but we're talking about the United Kingdom here. This is not the USA where we have guns roaming all over the country. You should only put that firearm out unless it's the absolute last resort. Was it really a case that the police officer needed to bring out his firearm? Was it an absolute last resort? He had no other choice to do that. That's the question we should be asking ourselves. They shouldn't. They have plenty of other options. That they use tasers. Like the taser is one of the most like realistic weapons that they should be using against people who are a threat to them, because that doesn't kill them. It subdues them. I think why was I think the firearm should not be used unless absolutely necessary. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that, chat, but I just think it's the firearm. Yes, they are necessary. They are necessary in the country, but I also think that questions need to be asked about that officer and other officers if they are questioning whether or not they think they're capable of holding a firearm. They need to go through psychological tests if they're not going to be careful about it. Honestly, I did not hear one word about the march here in Portugal. France 24 and one or two German medias did cover it in there, so there was some cover in Europe about it. Nothing in England. So yeah, what a joke reporting this now. Yeah, it was quite a joke here, to be fair. Actually, the Independent did have an article which something at least, but Tim Davies ran the BBC so you can see the channel. But Channel 4, I thought it would show some of it. Tried to find it on Google. Yeah, Channel 4 didn't cover it either. I was quite disappointed with them. JR says training responsibility is essential here. As for the choice of using it, cops around here talk first before they do what I have seen some British cops do. The first thing a cop says here is "good day," and they will shoot you if needed, but they have to use every other means to stop a threat before. Yeah, that's exactly how it should be. It should only be a last resort. Him saying like he could pull a knife out on me, it's just like you're jumping to conclusions already. That like my perception straight away is like you should not be jumping to that conclusion. Like, is it really a case that that person has a knife? Okay, if he has a knife, how do you know? Like that's the thing that's kind of hitting me. Like, you should not be jumping to conclusions. Yes, of course, be as cautious as you can, but you should not be jumping to that kind of conclusion. Same for the Scottish Independent March. Yeah, there was barely. Yeah, I did see some of it on. I did some of it online, FY. But again, yeah, it wasn't covered either, which is ridiculous. Yeah, that was quite frustrating to say the least. There. But yeah, they didn't cover the Scottish Indie March as well. But yeah, so I don't think I've got a video on it, to be honest. To be fair, I mean it has been covered quite a few stories, but I may cover it, may do. Right, so this one was exclusive from The Guardian. It dropped a few hours ago. I'm already going to need to drink water, looks like it. Exclusive from The Guardian, guys. 1 in 10 prisons in England and Wales should be shut down, the watchdog says. Oh dear, guys. Where are they going to go if you shut them all down? Chief Inspector of Prisons says 14 Victorian jails cannot provide proper accommodations for inmates. Oh dear. 1 in 10 prisons in England and Wales are barely fit for purpose and should be shut down. If alternative building can be found, the official watchdog has said. Charlie Taylor, the Chief Inspector of Prisons, told The Guardian that about 14 Victorian jails were so poorly designed, overcrowded and ill-equipped that they could not provide proper accommodations for inmates. They include HMPs Walsworth, Pentonville, Liverpool, Leicester, Lewes, Exeter, Bristol and Leeds, where prison officers are struggling to make the best of bad conditions. As a result, thousands of prisoners were being held in vermin-infested buildings with too few staff and inadequate facilities for retraining and education, Taylor said. Taylor's comments come amid intense scrutiny of the 135 adult and youth prisoners in England and Wales after the high-profile alleged escape of Daniel Kavliv, the 21-year-old former soldier awaiting trial on terror charges. They also follow the Guardian's disclosure that a German court refused to extradite a man accused of drug trafficking because of concerns about jail conditions in Britain. Wow. That's pretty big. They wouldn't even... So there's a criminal that needs to come to Britain. But we wouldn't the German court wouldn't take it, wouldn't send him here because our prison conditions are so horrible. That makes sense if you're sending them to a prison like somewhere in like Colombia or South America. I hear some of the prisons there are absolutely horrible, but my God. Good evening, Tom. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're well. Oh dear. Caliph, who is now back behind bars, has pleaded not guilty to escaping, went missing on the 6th of September from HMP's Walsworth in South London, which he was given the lowest score of serious concern in HM prison and probation service performing ratings this summer. The jail is now overrun with rats and suffer from severe staff shortages and a high number of untrained or ill workers. Where is the confidence? Where is the funding for these prisons? In his first interview since being reappointed as the prison's watchdog on Monday, Taylor said the conditions of Walsworth were particularly poor, but were part of a pattern of inner city jails but built more than 100 years ago. There are a lot of inner city local prisons that won't be closed anytime soon, but they're struggling to fulfill their purpose, he said. Walsworth was built for around 1,000 prisoners, and I think has 600 over Pentonville in North London. Was built for around 400, and I think there are about 1,200 prisoners in that jail. So there are a lot of awful lot of jails that are just far more prisoners than they were originally designed for. But also the infrastructure of some of those jails really struggle. You're probably talking about 10% of jails that struggle to be fit for purpose. Asked whether he believes about the 14 prisons, just over 10% of the total, should be closed in an ideal world, Taylor said yes. Taylor, a former head teacher who has been scrutinising jails for 3 years and has his own set of keys so he can move freely through the prison estates, said he will shut down most of the Victorian institutions in an ideal world. They tend to be built with very small footprints because they're built in inner cities, and they definitely haven't got enough activity places when the population has doubled and the number of prisons that were originally built for, he said. He said that consistent demand for cells at Walsworth mean that he was on its last visit, a burnt-out cell that could not be repaired before a new prisoner was moved in. Taylor said, we saw a cell that was ready for the first night arrival. Potentially your first night in a jail cell must have been burnt out from the previous occupant. It was hideous. If the prison was not overcrowded, what would you say to it? We'll take that out of commission and paint it up and fix it up, but it's just one out, one in. Taylor's particularly concerned by the lack of training and education, exacerbated by too few prison officers on the landing floor, which in turn leads to inmates spending longer in their cells. This year's Taylor's report found that 36 out of 37 men's prisons inspected in 2022-2023 were not good enough for purposefully activities such as education, employment and activities that keep prisoners meaningful occupied. If they are not in the habit of getting up and going to work or college every morning, then it comes as no surprise if they commit more crimes when they come out, he said. Solving the overcrowding crisis was vital to give staff the time to work on prisoners, Taylor said. The official Ministry of Justice figures said there were 87,685 prisoners across the male and female states in September. As of August 2023, 77 prison establishments were officially overcrowded, according to Taylor's office. His comments were echoed in an annual report released on Monday into HMP Pentonville. The Prison Independent Monitoring Board found that population pressures were effective to all aspects of prison life, including a lack of full-time education, and with many prisoners spending an hour a day outside their cells. Alice Gottel, chair of the Independent Monitoring Board at Pentonville, said it remained an unfit place for pensioners to live and to be rehabilitated. Entering an expected election year, Taylor cautioned politicians against promising to increase sentences without first addressing what the country wants from its prison system. Sentencing is a matter for the courts and ministers to decide policy, but I think there should be a bigger conversation about what we want from prisoners, Taylor said. But what our expectation and what is going to get, because apart from a handful, the prisoners we lock up are coming out at some stage. The prison service plan is set to have another 8,000 in place by May 2025, a spokesperson said. The latest figures showed that the majority of prisons are performing well, and where there are issues, we are providing intense support to those jails and drive long-term improvements, recruit extra staff, bolster security, and boost training and work opportunities for prisoners who can better protect the public. We also pressing ahead with the biggest expansion of prison places by any government in over a century. I've heard this bloody rhetoric before. Delivering additional 20,000 spaces, including 6 new modern prisons, around 550 new places we're already delivering in HMP Fossaway in Leicester, which opened in May. Yeah, I've heard all this biggest project and biggest investment and all that malarkey. We've heard that to living death, haven't we, guys? Ah, Jesus Christ. I mean, if the conditions are not adequate for the prisoners, and the staff are already, the morale is already well low enough, how long before somebody gets killed in these prisons? How long before an officer loses their life because of it? How long before one of these prisons ends up having a mass breakout? The whole point of prisoners going to jail, the idea is you're supposed to really rehabilitate. Now, obviously, those who are in jail for life, it's obviously a different story depending on what their case is. But, you know, rehabilitation is vital for any men or women who are behind bars for crimes that they have committed. The idea is that with the rehabilitation that they can contribute back into society as a better person. And if you're putting them in conditions that are inhumane, very downbeat, being locked up in the cell the whole time, not being able to go out and do anything, that's not good for their mental health, guys. It's not good for their mental health. It's really, really bad. And they just end up turning to crime again. That's what they end up doing, and it doesn't help anybody at the end of the day. Let's see what you guys in the chat are saying. Jails are a problem here too, says Jal. Talking about jails in Portugal. They are investing more now, but no, our prisons are not the nice places. But people do have the bare minimum: clean space, medical care, food and visits. The problem is that it's an old system needed refurbishing. As long as they have basic necessity needs at least, but they're not even getting that in these prisons. Being in a cell at a new police station is grim as anything, never mind some old rundown buildings, says Ben Shaw. Yeah, I've not had that pleasure, and I don't hope to never have that pleasure. FY says to Jow, free to a cell is so crowded, locked up for 23 hours a day. It's not a nice environment. 3 people in a cell for 23 hours, that's just... You're just you're just screwing people up in that kind of environment. Like that's horrible. That's absolutely horrible. And with replying to it, Jow says true, but here prisoners have out space to play sports, work activities, libraries, but the conditions do need improvement. Some prisons have good conditions, others need refurbishing. Those being able to do activities is vital for their mental health. If they're not getting that, that's a problem. Ben Shaw says need to look into how much prisoners' cheap labour are being used by big businesses to enhance their profits, which would also take proper paid jobs away from the public outside. I do think there's an incentive to get prisoners to do some kind of labour work to contribute to society while they do time. I think there's something they could tap into there. I wouldn't force them into it, but I would give them options, is what I would do. Mad Monk responding to FY, I think prisoners are locked up 24 hours a day, but let out of their cells for a few hours of education and work duty, says Mad Monk. Is that up in Scotland, Mad Monk? I'm assuming. Which Scandinavian countries has cool prison? I wouldn't know. Giles says prisoners here have the responsibility of the state, hence medical care, food, basic needs, workforce rehabilitation. Yeah, I think prisons in the UK are still state-run. I believe, I could be wrong on that, but yeah. Let's step away for a moment. I've got this guy just won't get off the phone, guys. I wish he would shut up sometimes.
Colin from Portsmouth is on the line. Hello, Colin. How are you doing? Yes, yes.
I thought that Rishi Sunak was just pulling a desperate U-turn to appease those in his party who still like Liz Truss and the 800 people in Uxbridge who want more kids to have asthma.
That's right.
But
Don't forget them.
He's changing everything.
I know. He's saving the planet, Colin. Just a little bit slower.
Look at the things he stopped. We nearly had 7 bins, one of them just for wallpaper. Bonkers.
I know.
We nearly had a meat tax. Vegans were going to get tax breaks. Labour wanted a wind farm in every bedroom. He scrapped that. Ceilings were to be lowered in every building. Scrapped. Driving on the opposite side of the road every Sunday. Scrapped.
Yep.
Bouncy castles to become listed buildings. Scrapped. Every National Trust property to have a trance room. Scrapped. Doctors to cut your testicles at every single appointment. Scrapped. Deadline them to take over the post office. Scrapped. Renaming the points of the compass to commemorate powerful women in history. Scrapped. Folding up second homes when you're not using them. Scrapped. Guide dogs to wear roller skates. Scrapped. Greek Orthodox dimmer switches. Scrapped. Compulsory car sharing with someone who's appeared in Condone with me. Scrapped. Bill Gates to put your gran in a headlock. Scrapped. What's Keir Starmer doing, Anthony?
What's he doing?
He's asleep at the wheel. There's only one man saving this country, and it's 7-bit Sunak.
Absolutely.
Anyway, mate, thanks for having me on. Love to the family.
Love to the family, Colin. Love to the family.
Whoever was in charge for the last 13 years nearly made it a right mess.
Oh, gosh, yeah. What a lucky escape. Colin.
Yeah, what a lucky escape that was, guys. Colin from Portsmouth there, as always, guys. Exploding Heads, definitely check them out whenever you get the chance. Make sure I got this right one on there. Right, bit of an icebreaker there for us, guys. So this article literally dropped about 20 minutes before we went live as well, this one. I even plugged it on Labour Social while they were streaming. So this one from The Guardian, guys. Sunak may seek to limit HS2 fallout with new transport project in the north. Sources suggest the Prime Minister could announce new spending on bus, tram and train schemes if he decides to act part of HS2. Oh, okay, it was a lot earlier than expected. 1918 it says on there. Rishi Sunak could announce a series of transport improvements for the north of England, including bringing forward the high-speed rail link between Manchester and Leeds as he seeks to limit the political fallout over the future of HS2. Government sources suggest the Prime Minister is still planning to press ahead with the proposal to axe the Birmingham to Manchester links of HS2, despite a furious response from Tories fearing it would fatally undermine their commitment to levelling up. They're not levelling up anyway. However, the sources claim that ministers were looking at boosting the Northern Powerhouse Rail, the NPR, at the same time, as well as providing more funding for bus services and trams in that region. The different parts of it have to go hand in hand, one said. I talked about it quite deep on my video today, guys, so I recommend if you haven't seen it, go and check it out. But essentially, the North needs the infrastructure. They need these investments. Far more than the South. It's ridiculous that the project started in London. It should have started in Scotland. It really should have started in Scotland and went down from there. Senior rail industry insiders said it would be madness to cancel the multi-billion-pound HS2 scheme. One told the Guardian that NPR would be buggered because it relied on the Manchester link of HS2 and claimed that there was nothing ready in the government's integrated rail review that could replace it. Sunak could bring forward an announcement originally penciled in for around the time of the autumn budget as early as next week, although Northern Tories have argued that scrapping the northern leg before their party conference in Manchester would be a major embarrassment. However, government sources suggest that Sunak was unlikely to delay the project after reports that the northern phase between Birmingham and Manchester could be put on ice for up to 7 years. That's just not good enough. Not good enough. Like, tax the rich, like, you know, borrow the money and it will pay it back. Like I said, you invest in this infrastructure and it will pay back over time. Long-term investment makes sense. Creates jobs. Brings businesses. It's investment. You know, it encourages. It's good for the economy. This infrastructure is good for the economy. We need it, especially in the given situation that we're in. With costs not expected to ramp up until 2030, they said there would be little financial benefit in pausing the multi-billion-pound project in order to move costs to a future parliament. The Defence Secretary Graham Shapps has suggested on Sunday there could be a change in the sequencing and pace of HS2 from the government because of the soaring price tag, adding it would be crazy not to reassess whether the full rail project remained viable. It does remain viable, but whoever you're giving the contracts to need to be put into question, considering it's going to cost up to £100 billion when that was not the cost originally when the project first started. This is the same argument I made about Crossrail. It cost an absolute freaking fortune, Crossrail, so much more than it should have done. And I still want to know why it cost more than what it did originally. The senior Conservatives believe that delaying the northern section would be out of kilt with Sunak's attempt to make a virtue out of taking bold and sometimes controversial decisions and to free himself of some of Boris's shackles. On Monday, Sunak twice dodged the question during an interview about whether the northern leg from Birmingham and Manchester would be built after all, saying, "I'm not going to comment on that speculation, but I would say we're absolutely committed to levelling up and spreading opportunities around the world, not just in the north, but in the Midlands and all regions of our fantastic country," he said. The doubts come after a chorus of warnings against any move to axe the project, and those speaking out, including former Prime Minister Boris Johnson, David Cameron, business leaders, and the London Mayor of Greater Manchester and London, Andy Burnham and Sadiq Khan. Burnham, who warned that not modernising rail infrastructure in the north would be a recipe for the north-south chasm, appealed to Sunak in a joint letter with the leader of Manchester City Council to meet them before making any final decisions on the HS2. But some Tories have argued HS2 spiraling costs mean it could be trimmed, or as a timetable for a fully delivered pushback. An initial cost of $33 billion in 2010. So that's how much it cost in 2010. Yeah, they estimated £33 billion in 2010 when this project. Yeah, all the way back then, guys. Yeah, it's 2023 now. In 2010, that said how much it would cost. Has since soared to $71 billion and is now feared to be closer to $100 billion. I'm not going to cover any more of this because I've done a video on it, to be fair, guys. But yeah, ridiculous, to say the least, guys. Let me just make sure before I switch over. I will talk to you guys in the chat. Just want to make sure that's okay. Yeah, HS2. What are you guys saying about that? HS2, aka Old Oak Commons Express. I know it's not even going to go for all the way to London. What a joke! What an absolute bloody joke. Levelling up in the UK is a very different thing from the rest of the world. Yeah, you know what? I've always said that America could have, America. My God, imagine if they went down the rail route, they would have reduced so much emissions on the planet if they went down the rail route. That country is wasting so much pollution. They've got the money to build a massive rail infrastructure. They will never do it. Sunak lies. Yep, he does lie, FY. Mad Monk says HS2's English transport upgrade, but us poor Scots have to chip in to pay for it. As I said, Mad Monk, it should have started up there. It should have started in Glasgow and Edinburgh and went down from there into the northern powerhouses and then into London. It should have started up there, not down in London. Monorail, says Simon says. Yeah, monorail. Probably a peasant moves chariot, the new MOG X1, says Jow. Maglev Birmingham Airport to NEC, quarter of a mile. To FY. Are these Tories going to do a good job on anything in my lifetime? I can't see it. Not going to answer that. In Action Man will have plenty of time to catch his train at this rate. Oh, he doesn't catch a train, Tom. He flies by helicopter. You should. We know he doesn't take the train. He always flies. Hi, I'm late. Sorry, I'm late. Hi, that's all right, Rose. That's all right. Hope you're doing well. Where's the money coming from? The pockets of the next 12 generations? Yeah, probably. I just think, like, even if they've got to take it out, even if we've got to pay it back in debt or whatever in like 100 years time, in the next 100 years or whatever, it should be done because it will pay back in time. So considering the project, how much has been invested into the project, it should keep going. They should keep it going. Just one thing before we go to the next. I've got quite a few articles still to go, so we'll probably end up going to go overtime maybe. I'm just going to put this out there for you guys. I put a link in at the start of the live stream. If someone could put a link to the Patreon, I really would appreciate it. Just want to do this quick little plug, guys. So today I dropped my first news and political article on Patreon, exclusively on there, guys. It's some of you may have heard the story about the UK having secret talks with Russia while the Ukraine war was going on. Yes, this is absolutely true if you haven't heard this story. I just want to put this out there as well. If you have a Patreon account, I'm just going to put this there. You don't have to join the actual Patreon, actually pay for it, guys. If you have a Patreon account, or if you don't have one, you can create one. All you got to do is have an email and simply follow me at REGANELITE, and you can watch the video on there. It's really I didn't put it on the behind the tier, so it's actually free to public users to watch, but you can only watch it on Patreon, guys. So yeah, if there's the link from Jow, if you click that link, guys, if you have an account, just type my name REGANELITE in the search bar, and all you have to do is follow me, and you will see the video that's been uploaded on there. I don't plan on doing one every day, maybe a couple of days, 1 or 2 days a week on there, just to kind of bring some exclusive, 1 or 2 exclusive news articles I'll put on there. But I just want to bring some attention to the Patreon, to give something back to those. I know Sabine, who's not here, I know she's a Patreon, my first ever Patreon on there, so she's getting all the content to herself. But even if you're not paying for it, guys, you don't have to pay. You still get content on Patreon if you simply create an account and literally follow me on there. It would be greatly appreciated. So definitely check out that video, and you can leave a like and share your thoughts of that video on there. Yeah, so the story on the Patreon is about the United Kingdom chatting with Russia while there's a war in Ukraine going on, guys. So just wanted to get that in there. Right, let's move on to the next topic. Yeah, this guy. Met Police received a number of allegations of sexual assault about Russell Brand. The comedian Brand has vehemently denied all allegations against him after a number of women came forward. I don't think we need to go into it in every single detail, but we'll read a little bit of it. I think we know the gist of the story, but I think this main bit here. So the police have launched an investigation into sexual assault allegations made against Russell Brand following an explosive Channel 4 documentary. On Monday, the force said they have since received a number of allegations of sexual offences in London as well as elsewhere in the country. So it follows a joint investigation by the Times, the Sunday Times and Channel 4 Dispatches, which highlight some of the stories of the 4 women, including one who was 16 years old at the time, who alleged that Russell Brand either raped or sexually assaulted her between 2006 and 2013. Brand has vehemently denied all allegations, insisting that his prior relationship has always been consensual. The Met has previously said he had received an allegation of sexual assault in Soho, central London, in 2003, which emerged the remaining live show for the Bipartisan tour were postponed. The investigation is being carried out by detectives in the Met Central Specialist Crime Command, led by Detective Superintendent Andy Fopri. Fopri said, "We continue to encourage anyone who believes that they may have been a victim of a sexual offence, no matter how long ago it was, to contact us. We understand it can feel like a difficult step and I want to reassure you that we have a team of specialist officers available to advise and support. There have been no arrests and inquiries continue. The force said it will be offering special support to all the women who have made the allegations." Yeah, I'm not going to read the rest of that bit, but yeah, so basically the essential of the story is basically now the police have opened an investigation and they have received a number of allegations, received a number of complaints on of him. So that's essentially it. I'm not going to add any more to that, guys, but it's interesting that this has been highlighted again. You know, in comparison to Dan Wootton, when I've seen some people basically, one of my recent videos that kind of blew up, people saying that there's no evidence there. Well, they've obviously not been reading any of the articles or the stories from Byline Times whatsoever, because I'm pretty sure they gave it all to the Met Police, and I don't know what's happened since then. He's still continuing his activities, but I did get some criticism from my video on Russell Brand as well. So it was not an easy video to talk about, to be fair. But essentially, yeah, the police have opened up an investigation, and let's wait and see what happens on that, guys. So let's. I don't know if you guys want to add any more to the Russell Brand. Probably not. But let's break away from it with some real news, guys.
Welcome to Broken News. The people of France have today released a statement expressing their total amazement that the British have yet to take to the streets and burn everything to the ground. It comes after more brazen corruption at the top of UK government. Our reporter has more.
After seeing billions of pounds of taxpayer cash pumped shamelessly into the pockets, yachts and tits of rich friends of Tories, the British people have reacted in the strongest way they know how, by tutting a bit and shaking their heads before getting a Deliveroo, flicking off to Love Island and farting into the sofa. But for some in France, it simply isn't good enough. An organisation calling itself Le Groupe Fait Quelque Chose Putain de Bordel de Merde, or Gufquok for short, has issued a statement on behalf of all French. They say they have no idea why Buckingham Palace isn't ablaze, why Big Ben hasn't been lobbed into the Thames, or why we haven't yet shoved a shard up Rishi Sunak's tiny arse. They go on to say, we sorted out this feudal shit 250 years ago. Do you want to borrow a guillotine or anything? Broken News has spoken to one French lorry driver who's been stuck in Dover for 8 months. He says, I went on strike for a year, smeared hot shit on the Arc de Triomphe and blew up a Renault Megane, all because they stopped selling mini baby bells in petrol stations.
Outrageous.
But the British seem happy to quietly die of cancer on an NHS waiting list, while Michelle Mone gets a lovely new boat. Back to you.
Oh, thank you. Well, the British have issued a statement in response. It says, golly chaps, you might possibly be right. Thanks a million for the statement. And we definitely will possibly now start considering, thinking about being on the verge of taking a stand. We're okay for guillotines, thanks. We have ineffective online comedy instead. Lovely story. Well, that's all from Broken News. You're up to date.
Be sure to check out Broken News at Larry and Paul, guys. They don't do a show every Thursday, but they do it most Thursdays, guys. So definitely check them out. And subscribe to Larry and Paul, guys. The video for the link is in the description, guys. Yeah, good stuff from them. So, we are going into... Where is... Have I got my... Nope, that's the wrong one. Ah, there we go. So this article dropped yesterday. I haven't really covered it, and I wanted to cover it. So going back into British politics here, guys. This one was from Sky News. It's dropped yesterday, and I didn't really get a chance to cover it, and I wanted to cover it. So Lib Dem women's group claims it has been banned from promoting events over the trans views. Liberal Voice for Women is holding a meeting with the former BBC Radio 4 presenter Jenny Murray on the fringes of the Lib Dem conference, but said censorious forces are keeping them from advertising it inside. A Liberal Democrats women's group claims it has been banned from advertising at an event at the party's conference due to clashes over their position on trans people. The gender-critical Liberal Voice for Women is hosting a panel near the conference centre in Bournemouth with former Radio 4 presenter Jenny Murray listed as their headline speaker to discuss the importance of material fact of sex for women and girls. But the organisation claimed it has not been allowed to promote the gathering due to census forces at work in the party, which has stopped them from both running events on site or having to stall in the expedition area. Although a spokesperson for the Lib Dem said the same rules apply for all groups. But Zoe Hollowwood, who chairs the Liberal Voice for Women, said the ban meant party members were being stopped from learning about the issues, while Lib Dem MPs were being sheltered from reality and may end up getting a muddle about women with penises on TV. It is also particularly regrettable from our perspective, as it means members don't get to hear from us directly about what we actually believe. Meanwhile, smears about us continue to go unchallenged within the party, she added. There is an abusive climate that leaders need to get a handle on. Rows have erupted on Twitter between Liberal Voice for Women and other members of the Lib Dems, with the former calling for sex-based rights for women, and the latter wanting to protect the rights of trans and non-binary people. This is like going into a minefield here, really. Spokesperson for Liberal Democrats said, "No groups are allowed to hand out promotional material within the conference centre. This rule applies to everyone. Party members submit dozens of motions for discussions at conference, and sadly we don't have time to debate them all. We are debating a range of policies to deal with the cost of living crisis, the emergency, the NHS caused by the chaotic Conservative government." There is no right way. I mean, there is no right way of this. It's a very delicate subject, I will say, but I think it's very tough to speak on. I'm not going to pick a side on that. What I'm going to say is that while everybody needs to have a voice, at the same time, you can only, at a conference, you can only have so much of a voice because there's so many other things that need to be dealt with. And I'm not saying that their issues are not important, but with respect, there are other priorities that need to take place. But I do think the Lib Dems do need to take their issue seriously and handle it within house and not out in public. That is what I will say on that matter. I honestly do not care about this trans discussion at all. It's a medical issue. The medics take care of their genitalia, determines sex in their identity card. So many worry about other people's business, very ideological. I'm just going to say that, you know, the Liberal Democrats should try and handle it within house. That's what I'm going to say on that. But there's another story about the Lib Dems we need to talk about. This one dropped not too long ago, guys. Lib Dem members defy leadership on housing target. So, yeah. Ed Davey, it's a bit interesting, this one. So the Liberal Democrat members have defied the party's leadership by voting to keep the party's house building target for England. So the party bosses wanted to shelve the 3,800 annual target, arguing that it failed to deliver necessary new homes. But members backed a motion from younger activists to keep it at the party's conference in Bournemouth. In an impassionate debate, the activists said ditching it overall target risks alienating younger voters. A leaflet backing the motion warned members that dropping the target would hand Labour a stick to beat us with in marginal seats. Referring to the party's notorious broken pledge on university funding during the coalition years, it urged, "Don't let housing become our next tuition fees." Yeah, you got hammered. Liberal Democrats got hammered so goddamn hard, and they still to this day people throw that university thing on them, and it still sticks to some people, believe it or not. I mean, some people have moved on, but those coalition years, you know, my God, those days, it really did not work out for them. But yeah, don't, if you really believe in a pledge, just stick to it. You know, and they don't want to give Labour a reason to take their seats either. You know, some of the policies and some of the things that Liberal Democrats seem to be saying are pretty solid. I still believe the Green Party is a lot more. I have a lot more faith in the Green Party. They're certainly not being influenced. There are some rumours that I've seen some stories here and about that people are saying that they're kind of in. They're like the Labour Party and the Conservatives. They're kind of trying to appease some of the wider, some of the rich and powerful, shall we say. The clue is in name, Sir Ed. Yeah, that is a big clue, FY, to be fair. It is a big clue. The party has had a target to build 3,800 new homes a year in England across all sectors since it was adopted at its annual conference in 2021. But the party's leadership had proposed replacing it with independently assessed targets for local authorities where are appropriate for the specific area's needs. Under the plan, the party would instead pledge to build 150,000 social homes a year in England, with blinding affordability housing target for councils. During a debate before the vote, the party House spokesperson Helen Morgan said England's wide target had utterly failed to deliver the homes we need. She added that the party needed a policy that will actually deliver homes, adding that the 380,000 pledges for all sectors, public and private, will not do that. We definitely need more public housing, less private and more public housing. I feel because private's relying on private sector is just, you know, that's what they've been doing for the last 13 years. Is kind of throwing it on the private sectors to do these projects, and then we've just not been building enough homes. We've just not been building enough homes, guys, in my opinion. We are listening. However, members eventually backed an amendment suggesting that young liberal groups said the target should be kept to be translated in achievable local goals. He added that keeping it would show serious intent from the party to address the housing crisis. The group's chair, Janny Little, told party members that housing had become unaffordable for many younger people, and the target showed them that we, as Liberal Democrats, are listening. The former leader, Tim Farron, spoke against successful amendments, adding the England-wide targets was vague and precarious, and would prove an electoral gift for the Tories to jeer some in the conference hall. Lib Dems are hoping to target a swathe of Conservative held seats at the next election across sections of southern and southwestern England. Currently, a government set formula based on population estimates determining the housing targets that councils are meant to incorporate into their 15-year house building plan. Councils that fail to do so have the power to block new developing curbs. However, in the face of a backlash from Conservative MPs, the government has set out plans to water the targets down by specifying in planning guidance that are the only advisory. This weekend, Lib Dems leader Sir Ed Davey denied opposing new housing in Tory-run areas, saying he was against developing lead schemes without proper amendments. The government had a target to build 300,000 new homes in England by mid-2020s, but MPs have warned that it is on track to miss it. It's not all rosy, to be fair, in the Lib Dems, that is for sure. Are the Liberals closer to Tories or Labour? Their positions are very confusing sometimes. 91 Lee says more Tories for me. Mad Monk says in England they try and put homes ownership as a priority. In Scotland, it's social housing over there, and is over 100k per year being built for social rent. A lot of social rent here too, says Jow. I would say Tory little, say Tory a bit more, Jow. Hello Casper, good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Right now I think they're more Labour than Conservative, simply because they know, like, they know how bad their reputation was being too close to Conservatives. However, there's a lot of voters who are more likely to, in my opinion, to vote Lib Dem rather than Labour, simply because they don't trust Labour and Keir Starmer. And some of them may feel that voting for Green is not sufficient because they don't have the numbers anyway because of our electoral system. So I can see it from that point of view. But I have covered, I think I've got a video coming tomorrow on Sir Ed Davey as well, on that as well. But I will say that I think they're a bit more towards Labour than they are the Conservatives, only because of the situation the country is in right now. But at the same time, they're kind of stepping back away. Even though they've always been seen as a pro-European party, but they've kind of stepped away from the whole Brexit debacle. They're really not coming out so much about that, to be fair to them, which is kind of a bit of a question mark there, to be fair. So I've got one more story before we wrap things up, guys. So it's not really a good story. I would just say I saw this and I thought, okay, it's something a little bit different. Obviously, none of us will ever have what this guy will have, but I still think it's pretty damn cool nonetheless. So this is from the Good News Hub. I'm struggling to find good news stories nowadays, guys. New bionic hand allows amputees to accurately control each finger. Wow, that's pretty cool. In a world first, surgeons and engineers have developed a new bionic hand that allows amputees to effortlessly control each finger as though it's their own body. So I'm sorry to say there's no video here. I would have loved to have played a video of this. The first representative of this technology is 52-year-old Tony from Sweden, who lost his arm from above the elbow in a workshop accident. Tony quickly learned how to master his new bionic arm, performing a number of tasks including using a screwdriver and pouring water into glass. Professor Mac Ortiz Catalan, said the lead researcher of the Center for Bionics and Pain Research in Sweden, said, "This is the first time ever a person with the above the elbow amputation has been able to control each and every finger of a bionic hand. Until now, this technology has only been demonstrated in the amputees below the elbow. Professor Ortiz explained that this is because there are many muscles in the forearm that control the fingers. Traditionally, the signals in the amputees' limb from remaining nerves can be too faint to be picked up by the electrolytes to the artificial limb. Directed by this, Ortiz, Catalan and his team recognized that the nerves in Tony's arm to new targets in the existing muscles to amplify the signals. The next step involves using electrolyte sensors and a titanium bone implant to connect Tony's arm to the prostate. The titanium implant is more comfortable and stable compared to traditional artificial lamb attachments and can cause discomfort and can be mechanically unstable. The team utilizes cutting-edge machine learning algorithms to translate the Wiener's intentions into the movement of the prostate, enabling Tony to move his bionic hand using his mind, Catalan explained. We combined surgical and engineering approaches to solve this problem. We basically redistributed the motion neural signals to different types of muscle targets, all acting as biological amplifiers. Our patient uses the implanted electrolytes to control his prosthetic hand in daily life because of our unique neuromusculoskeletal interface that gives them that freedom. It is hoped that the advances in this field will help other amputees in the future. There are currently over 60 million people worldwide living with limb amputation. According to the research, Tony has now been living with his bionic hand for 3 years, and the device is currently in trials. After this phase is complete, it is hoped that surgeons and prosthetic specialists will be able to bring this technology to their patients. I'm just looking at that, and it is pretty darn cool, to be fair, guys. That is pretty darn cool. When you look at that, it's just a case. I think the biggest case, obviously, when it comes to things like that, is money. You know, who is going to pay for this kind of thing at the end of the day? Like, that's the thing. JL says we are all machines after all, biological machines with electronic impulses. Yep, we do have electronic impulses. That's for sure. Clegg in Silicon Valley Facebook now, says FY. Maybe. They went with the Tories with Nick Clegg and totally got mugged off. Yeah, they did get mugged off. That's the thing. That's why I think they're more Labour than Conservatives, even though they were before. Like, they can't trust them after that, to be fair. So Liberal in mid-term between Tory and Labour. I suppose Green is seen as a more Labour. No. One thing that the Greens have that's different than the other three parties is that they're not interested in any big donors or influencers from big media outlets. They're definitely not shown any of that. But there's definitely one or two potentially in the Liberal Democrats. So I would be wary of that. I have seen. Heard about this around here too. Interesting development these days. Good news for a lot of people, says Jow. Greg should be gone with Labour. I don't think we would have been in this mess now. Well, can't change the past now on that, to be fair. Who knows what would have happened in 2010 if the Liberal Democrats, if we had kept that hung parliament. It's all what ifs, to be fair. This could be amazing, Casper says. Yeah, the bionic arm could be. Yeah, it has great potential. Yeah, because of the electrolytes. Yeah, technology is amazing these days. It gives hope to a lot of people. Hope is what we need, Rose. Hope is what we need. Mad Monks says, I think most Tory voters have had something removed their brains. Yeah, potentially. I showed a video called "Muscular Shape of You" several times to the bulk cycle classes. Oh, cool. Oh, if you're on the Discord, Tom, drop that in the Discord. I'll have a look at it, buddy. So I've got one more video for you guys before we wrap things up. I'm just going to make sure I've got everything in place for us. So guys, just before we head out, just want to say a big thank you to everybody who's come along today. I really do appreciate it for another episode of The Viewpoint. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope great to see so many familiar faces as always. I really do appreciate it, guys. We should be doing another Snowflake show this Wednesday 9 PM. So if you have nothing else planned for Wednesday night, feel free to come and join us. If you want to come and hang out with me in the after chat on Discord, you're more than welcome to do that too. I will put a ping out there on the server if anyone wants to come and hang out and say hello to me on there. Sometimes nobody turns up, but that's alright. I'll hang around for about an hour and then go away if nobody else turns up. But it's all good anyway. It's all good. But I know some people obviously are a bit tired. They got work the next day and whatnot. But as I said about, I've got a lot of content dropping the next couple of days. I've got some more to do. I am still currently looking for work at the same time as well. So I've got that going on. And I've been doing a lot of things to keep myself busy, guys. So I've not been sitting on my backside playing video games non-stop. Definitely not been doing that. So I'm not that kind of person. I like to keep myself active and whatnot. So don't you worry, guys. I am keeping myself extremely busy. That is for sure. But yeah, if you guys want to check out the Patreon, it would really would appreciate it, guys, if you can. And yeah, check out that video I've put down, the first one on Patreon exclusive, which is about the UK talking to Russia during the Ukraine war. A very interesting one, to say the least, guys. So if you want to find out my thoughts about it in the article that I read, yeah, just if you haven't got Patreon, you can, and you don't need to pay for it as well. I want to stress that you don't have to pay for it to watch the video. All you need to do is create an account at Patreon. Follow me at REGANELITE, and you can have a look at the video there. And there's some other content you can have a look at for free as well that I do drop as well. So if you guys want to check that out, feel free to do so. So guys, have a great rest of your week, and I will see you guys tomorrow night in Max's live streams. Don't forget to check that out if you guys are going to be there. If you're not going to be there, come and check us out, myself and Lee Korn, on the Snowflakes show this Wednesday at 9 PM. So thank you guys for coming along. Have a great rest of your week, and I'm going to leave you with this lovely lady here.
Well, we are committed to making sure that the planet doesn't burn. Alright, we just postponed that commitment in a committed way. Let's at least wait for the planet to singe a little. You don't put out a fire that hasn't started yet, Kate. You wait for it to start, and that's all we're doing. We're waiting, okay? We're waiting. We've just changed the target.
And it's not just the changing of the target, is it? It's the steps to get there.
Well, the steps are still there. They're just safe and proportionate steps. You know, proportionate and safe for poor people who we've always been the most concerned about. But particularly poor people who are looking to buy diesel, not second-hand cars. So don't get any from Ford, as they don't know what they're talking about. We are committed to tackling climate change for 2090, you know.
Just a few months ago, we had ministers on this programme committing to these targets of 2030. What's happened in those last few months?
Well, those ministers have different information now, and that is that we won Uxbridge.
Rosie Holt, guys, don't forget, if you're not subscribed, go check out, subscribe to her channel and check out her content straight from there, guys. So take care, everyone, and have a great rest of your week.